So guys, as one of my latest videos was dropped, it was a story about Bluebeard. And I started with explaining what are the symbols that are in the story. I got a comment from you hearing that you would like me to do a deep dive. So this is the video where I will deep dive into the story. If you have never been on this channel before, welcome. My name is Tim and I am sharing my journey of personal development with you. Lately, I've been diving in quite deep and quite a lot into Jungian thinking, shadow work, and these kind of things, but I share also a lot of different content. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, stick around and I'm sure you will enjoy it. So if you haven't listened or watched the story of Bluebeard, please do that first, because I just read to you basically the full story of Bluebeard, and I think it's quite essential, as we will spoil you and dive into the details of that story. First off, I really love how the story starts, because the story starts as a very classic hypnotic induction, actually, where you are trying to tell a story that you've heard from someone who heard it from someone else. A lot of old stories use the same structure. For instance, I have a small book with translation of a lot of Turkish stories, and a lot of times it starts with something's happening, someone's traveling somewhere, and then here's a story from someone else who read the story somewhere else. So you're like going a couple of levels deeper into a story about a story, which is just like funny to mention, because that's how our actual brain also works. So we also ourselves go deeper into that story by just listening to this trigger, basically. And this already suggests that the story is not actually an historical event, but it is a story with deeper meaning. It's a story of the unconscious. So as the story begins, it talks about three sisters that get kind of seduced or swayed by this guy called Bluebeard to hang out with them, to potentially marry them. He was interested in all three of them. And it's explained that Bluebeard is a failed magician. And these are already a couple of very interesting things to start off with. So as we know, we're talking about the unconscious, and a guy is trying to marry or be with three girls at the same time. What does that actually tell you? Well, it tells something about Bluebeard as a person, is that he has big plans apparently, and he thinks that he can marry three women, or he doesn't really care about the woman in specific. He just wants to have a woman, or multiple ones in this case. But there's also more to that. That's something you should realize while interpreting the rest of the story, is that the sisters are not necessarily different entities, but it's actually the unconscious of women, let's say. And there you have the older sisters who already have this kind of hunch that there's something wrong with Bluebeard and tend to listen to it, to that hunch, to that intuition. But the youngest sister obviously doesn't. And the story is basically an arc explaining in a very dramatic way the developmental process of coming of age and experiencing perhaps bad things with the outside world, or in your unconscious, again, of forces that are trying to stop you from developing, stop you from growing and living. In this case, as a woman, but I do also want to highlight that, especially in Jungian thought, as I also mentioned before, female stories and archetypes are as much present in males as in females. It's more about the masculine and feminine storylines that you have. So this could as well really happen to a male as a female. So don't try to trip over that. It's basically the story of someone who is young and naive, has a certain intuition, but ignores that at first, as we all do when we are young. So after Bluebeard basically takes the girls out, the younger sister is inclined to basically drop her instinct and say, wait, I've seen a lot of evidence here and I really want this to be true, so this guy must be pretty nice, I will marry him. And then at first it looks pretty nice, He's taking her to the big castle, where she basically has everything she wants. But this is also a very important hint, because that does feel already a bit off for the reader, at least. We all know that life is not like that. It's not like you marry someone rich and then you have everything you want. That is like not the meaning of life. That is not the way that you should conduct yourself, especially not at that age. When you're young, you're supposed to explore and develop yourself more, travel, these kind of things. Just marrying some rich guy and then live in his big castle is definitely not the thing that is in store for you, let's say. We have this very eerie feeling that something's off. At a certain point, Bluebeard says, look, I'm going away. You can do whatever you want in this kind of utopia that I've created for you, which is basically a golden cage. And here you have all my keys. You can do whatever you want, go into any room where you want to be. But, he says, there's this one small key that goes into a door that she's not supposed to enter. So what does this mean? It means that actually she has in the palm of her hand already the opportunity to go into the place where she doesn't want to go. The place of hidden knowledge, the place where basically her unconscious things will become conscious and she will wake up. And there's, of course, a part of her that does not want that, because she wants to stay in fairy tale land and live the easy life. But luckily, she invites her two other sisters, which again are the more ancestral knowledge, mature part, cast into the older sister feminine figures here. And they make it a kind of a game where they're exploring the whole castle while Bluebeard is away. They open every door, have a lot of fun, until they reach to the cellar where they find this one door. Of course, they open the door, and at the moment that they open the door, they are completely shocked. They see a lot of dark, disturbing images, which of course is what always happens when you open the door of your unconscious and you get like put face to face with your shadow side, or a piece of knowledge that you actually already had but you didn't realize it before. All of a sudden you realize it, you're standing face to face with that. That is always a shocking experience, and it is an experience that you wish you could undo and forget about it. That's exactly what the girl does. She doesn't want it to be true, so she takes the key, tries to hide it, tries to clean it. She sees there's blood on it and everything. But of course, that just doesn't work anymore. Once you've opened that door is open, and it will be on your mind. You can also never forget about it. So I really like how every part of this story can be interpreted as an understanding of your own unconscious mind. So of course, what you do when you open a part of your unconscious mind that you actually did not want to open, you try to hide it, you forget about it. But at a certain point, Bluebeard, of course, comes back, and he finds out that she opened the door, and he's going to drag her into it and murder her for trying to really find out what kind of person he is, what his true intentions are. And yeah, basically what Bluebeard as a character is trying to do is to crush everything that's good and pure and alive. As I also quickly touched upon in the previous video about Bluebeard, it's actually a failed magician represents someone who tried to become close to the gods but failed and got punished for it. A bit like Satan in the Bible. For instance, Icarus, I think, the guy who tried to make for himself and then fly up to the gods, but he flew too close to the sun, and the wax that he used to attach his wings melted, and he fell down and he died. It's that kind of character. So someone who had such big ambitions and thought of himself so highly, but then got punished for it. That is the kind of person or the kind of force that Bluebeard represents. And yeah, so he's just trying to crush basically everything that still has the opportunity to grow and develop and be alive because he lost it. And then what finally happens is that the youngest sister has an she's buying herself some time, and she is asking help from her sisters and, more importantly, from her brothers to come and save her. So I just want to make this like very important note here, that this is not a story about men coming to save you as a poor woman that cannot defend herself. It is more that the masculine part of her unconscious needs to be tapped in. So the aggressive part, the part that is willing to fight for her survival. So again, this is not a woman being saved by men, but it's all happening in her unconscious. Therefore, these men ride in on horses, the righteous men, kind of like knight-like symbolism, and they are just in time to slay Bluebeard, therefore saving her. So, why do we tell this story? I think, in part, the hope is that you can teach women about these kind of predators and make them wary not to trust these kind of characters and to trust their own intuition even more, get in touch with their own wild nature. But to be honest, I think we cannot really avoid having to go through the motions ourselves. These stories are a bit of a reassurance that we know these things will happen, and they will happen again and again, as they have happened hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years in our existence as humans and proto-humans. So it's more showing the pattern and telling you not to worry. The only way to really learn the lesson is to experience the lesson. So yeah, I hope this was a bit interesting for you guys. I really love this kind of stories. There's a lot of information packed in them, and I hope I did it justice. If you like this, let me know. There are a lot of other very cool stories in the book that I might elaborate on. They're not too long, so it will not be like an endless video as well. But I think it gives you a nice insight into different archetypes and how you can look at them. And then, as I will make a video, or at this point maybe I already released, let's see how the scheduling goes, a video about shadow work, how you can use these kind of stories also to reflect on yourself. That's something that's at least planned for the future. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and don't forget to have a great day.